Hi, everyone, and welcome to our Jolters, our paid subscribers. I'm here with my very good friend, Dr. Marcy Cole. And if you haven't seen the previous podcast, we are going to be talking right now about how do we hold our joy in challenging conversations and challenging situations. Because, we have people that we love in our life that may have a very different point of view to us. And this is something that I think both you and I and friends of ours in our Transformational Leader group are really been focusing on. How do we still, maintain respect and love for the other person, even though their point of view could be very contrasting to our own. And I know you had like an exchange just recently, and it really nearly made me cry, because, you and our friend had very opposing views on a very sensitive subject. But the way that the two of you navigated that with such respect for each other, like I said, it brought me to tears.
Yeah.
So, yeah. What has your experience been of this lately?
Well, it's real. It is real. It is happening. It is become something that we've never experienced before quite in this way. And there's, actually my interaction with who you're talking about he was actually speaking to the interaction I had with a very dear friend who chimed in on something I shared from someone else's post. And it was that dear friend of mine that was the catalyst to really walk through, what do we do when we're faced with someone we love so much, we have such history with? And unfortunately, a lot of people aren't getting there, because what they're doing is they're judging each other, and then they're giving up, and then they're walking away, and then they're canceling each other. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, so, here's the thing. In my life, and what I sort of teach professionally and in professional situations or with private clients is communication that requires respect. So if somebody disagrees with me, fine. If somebody, is upset with me, okay, let's talk about it. But if there's disrespect, time out. We either need to just start over, or we need to walk away and take a few breaths. And sometimes, that relationships are here for a season, reason, or lifetime. I'm about to put out a video next week about my own personal experience with friendships that have shifted over years, which is not something I was very used to for most of my adult life. Anyway, so I think sometimes we do need to say, I wish you well. Okay. If there's a lack of respect and there's a lack of intentional ability to have a conversation, that's what's happening. People don't know how to talk about this stuff anymore. So what I would say is that I'm going to bring in an analogy of a private client I spoke to in New York this week, that it wasn't about this, world points of view and politics or anything like that. It was about her own experience in her life and her family of origin, and then in a current situation with her partner. And the two things that were common was this feeling like, because I was hearing her, I was sort of saying, okay, it sounds like there wasn't room for you. There wasn't room for your experience, your perspective, your desires, and then also that they forgot who you really are. Right. Those two things. So when we're having a situation with someone, family, friend, neighbor, whatever, that we know is a good person, we formally have had amazing experiences, we actually agree, we have a lot in common of what we agree with. We have to make room for each other. So what do you think? What's your experience? What have you heard? Emmanuel Acho, who co-wrote actually a book with Noah Tishby called, he started this uncomfortable conversations
with the Black man.
First, uncomfortable conversations with a Black man. Then he reached out to her 2 years actually before October 7th. He said, uncomfortable conversations with a Jew. And they published this 2 years ago. And this statement is so gorgeous. He said on CBS, when they were promoting the book, he said, you can't have empathy unless you understand what breaks your brother's heart. Or sister's heart or person's heart.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So it's about being able to be curious enough and open enough to leave room for someone else's experience and care, even if it hasn't been your experience, care about what breaks their heart, care about what concerns them, care about what they have been through, care about the article that came through their feed and not yours, or be curious enough about that. So there's making room for each other. And there's not forgetting who we are. And with my friend, what our friend was referring to is the way I responded to my very dear friend in the East Coast chiming in on something that was not what the post was about and going into all this stuff. And the first thing I said is, I know your heart. I know your heart. It's all good. Like, I know who you are. So we have to have, I call it the launching pad. Like, we have to be on stable enough ground within ourselves and in a conversation to move forward.
That is the key, honey. That is the key. So my ex-boyfriend, he had a very different political view to me. Actually, we fell on the opposite sides of some very important subjects. And so we just didn't talk about it, which is how we navigated that. But every once in a while, I would initiate the conversation. And I would make sure that I was so emotionally regulated before I even asked the question because I couldn't go in, upset or, emotional about anything. And then I would always start the conversation with, can you help me understand why you see this, or why people see this, or why this is happening? Can you help me understand that? And I would genuinely want to know. Otherwise, I would not ask the question. But I had to be grounded first. That was the key to everything. Otherwise, it would get in. I would start to get excited and then he'd be, you're yelling at me. I'm like, I'm not yelling. I'm just getting really emotional about this subject because this is important. So,
So grounding 100%. I agree. We have to be on sturdy ground, or when the wind blows, it's going to knock us. I say, there's so much wind blowing everywhere these days, and we're not robots. We are humans with a beating heart, and we might be caught off guard or caught off kilter, but the steadiness, the grounding helps us come back. Yeah. And in a conversation too, what I love what you did was you were aware of you were self-regulating first. So you were aware enough of your own, what was going on. And I also love that you use the word understand. I want to understand, because that seeking to understand, most of us are just like, but, and we're just wanting to talk and be understood and convince and be right, as opposed to going, I don't understand your point of view, and I want to better understand your point of view. That doesn't mean I might agree with it at the end, but I'm seeking to understand. Honestly, if we just go into a world where if everyone was doing that with each other, can you imagine? I just want to seek to understand your experience, because from that place, there are ahas. And from that place, there's deeper empathy. And from that place, there's a bridge with which to say, oh, okay, well then where do we go from here?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, to be honest with you, very rarely did either of our opinions change after these conversations. I just had a better understanding. That's all. So it helped me in future conversations with other people, because I'm like, I know that you're not seeing the same information that I'm seeing. I understand why you are being, emotional around this. And you don't understand why I think the way I do, because you don't realize that I'm not seeing the same information, the same Facebook feed, the same videos, the same news, the same everything that I'm seeing is very different to yours. And I had that understanding, but I also was like, how are they presenting it on the other side for you to have this opinion? Like, I really want to understand that, you know?
Right.
So yeah, it
Yeah. And
helps.
so it for sure. And what you're in saying that, look, I mean, at the end of the day, we're all indoctrinated, all of
Mm-hmm.
us.
Yeah.
From the womb we came out of, the family system we grew up in, the schools we were educated, the neighborhoods we were raised in, the feeds that we now listen to, the
Yeah.
religious or spiritual influences, all indoctrinated. If we just come to that honestly and realize with humility, we don't know everything.
Yeah.
That we have blind spots. Then that curiosity of seeking to understand, it might bring some things into our focus that we just didn't know. And hopefully, even if, again, at the end of the day, we disagree with everything someone's still sharing, hopefully, when it's somebody that we know well enough to admire, respect, and care about, we can still maintain our affinity for that person without the
Yes.
intense, harsh judgment.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, yeah. So that seeking to understand is a huge piece. And
And I think too, like, if there was any advice I could give, especially if it's online and it's public. First
yeah,
of all, social media is a very difficult place to be regulated because it is designed to dysregulate you intentionally,
yeah,
right? So, don't type angry.
no, yeah,
Don't type from reaction.
hmm
Take a beat. And honestly, if it's someone that you really love,
yeah,
I would reach out offline.
yeah, exactly. You know
Yeah.
what? It took me a while to figure out how to respond to my friend because I wish that we had just had a discussion about it. But here's the thing. It's like keeping two truths available at the same time or open at the same time, but also honoring the loyalty, both to the person that you care about and what they care about, but also to yourself. So the way I responded to him is I started with basically saying, I haven't forgotten. I know who you are. It's all good.
Mm,
And we agree on big stuff here.
mm.
But then I went to my own truth. I would not compromise some truths that I feel strongly about. So then I went into that. Okay. Respectfully.
Yeah.
And so that's all we can do, Nat. I mean,
Mhm.
all we can do is, and also look at with what you were saying about social media. We live in a world, a digital world now. We do. And we live it now, AI, it's our new normal. It's not going away, probably. So we live in this world, right? So what do we do with it? You know, there's a level of acceptance and participation to whatever extent we want. Then we must have boundaries around it too.
Mhm.
We must be able to say, to protect my joy, I'm going to be online for half an hour, and then I'm going about my day.
Yes.
You know, we must do that. And
Or
yeah,
or you hang out on Substack.
yeah, that's right. Well, so I recently just started my own Substack, The Wonder into Wisdom, and it's only been like 3 or 4 months, but there is a different feel here. There
Mhm.
is. And let's just preserve it together, shall we?
Yes.
There's a
Yes.
mutual curiosity and support and enthusiasm and sharing of information that isn't about, it's not conflictual.
Yeah.
And so it's beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be here with you.
Yay.
Yeah.
Well, for those of you who are listening, you can find Marcy's Substack, which is Wisdom into Wonder.
Wonder into
Um,
wisdom. Wonder.
Wonder into Wisdom. I'm actually looking at it and reading it incorrectly. Like Wonder into Wisdom. And yeah, darling, thank you so much for your time and your generosity. And like I said, when because you're also a really good friend of Susie, so we will have you back
Yes.
where we can all have a free for all.
There's so much to share, and I love what you guys are doing. I just want to say, I love that you're focusing on the concept of joy, because joy is our birthright. But back to contrast, a little kid is laughing hysterically and then they're crying. It's part of our life's journey to access that joy and also to return to it as often as possible. So thank you for inviting me. It was an absolute joy to be with you, Nat, and everyone watching. Lots of love.
Thank you. All right, everyone. Have a fantastic week, and I'll see you back with Susie next week. Have a great week.
Bye-bye.